It's time for the weekly budget update. And because July ends on a Thursday, we're also going to close out the month. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome back to Ready Budget Go. My name is Drew, and on this channel we talk about household budgeting, saving money, and achieving our financial goals. So if those sound like things that you vibe with, please consider subscribing, hit the like button, and leave me a comment down below because I'd love to hear from you. So it's the end of July and also the end of the week for me because my budgeting weeks run from Friday through Thursday. So I am doing a weekly budget update and I'm also going to close out the month. This is going to be shorter than I've done in months past just because I've already done a lot of the work ahead of the time. So we'll just get right into it. And we'll do what we usually do first, which is a cash dump. This is the remnants of the $100 in cash that I give myself every week. Anything that I don't spend goes into the Letterbucks challenge, which I post the first weekend of every month. So that will be up. If you're watching this on Friday, it will be up at some point this coming weekend. So August 1st or August 2nd, that video should be up. So let's jump into it. This is the envelope where I keep my $100 in weekly cash, and it is empty. So I have been taking out 20s. I'm going to start taking out 10s and 5s. And I think for August, I'm going to try to get the whole month's worth in one go rather than taking it out every week, just for fewer trips to the bank. But at any rate, no more 20s left over, so we'll set that to the side. In this pouch, I've got the change that I've got from the week. So I got a lot of really ugly bad pennies this week. See that? How they're like calcified or they've been dropped in some kind of acid or something. I don't know. I guess people do that for kicks, but it makes it hard to redeem the pennies. So, I mean, I probably have to take these to the bank the next time I do a deposit because they probably won't get accepted at the machine. So just a hassle, but a fair amount of change this week, more than I usually have. And that's because prices went up at one of the places where I get lunch. And because the prices went up, instead of being, something dot 87 cents, it's now something else dot 11 cents. So instead of getting a dollar bill, I wound up with more change. And that is really getting hefty. I meant to take this to redeem it for a gift card before Prime Day and didn't get around to it, so I will do that at some other point. And then in this other pouch, we've got all the cash that I didn't spend this week, so let's give it a count and see how much is left over. Last week I had almost half of the $100 left. This week it's going to be less. So we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 31, 2, 33, 34, 35, 36. And all of these bills are pretty gross. But 36 bucks, so not too bad. I mean, it's something. So that is going to join its brothers and sisters in here. Let me just put it in kind of in order. Yep. And then the 5s. Mostly it's 1s, but we also got 5s and 20s. So this is the big fat stack that I will be putting into the Letterbucks challenge. There are, like I say, mostly 1s, but there are some 5s, and there's even a few 20s. So it should be a good amount going into Letterbucks this weekend. And Letterbucks is what I use for gifts, holidays, birthdays, special occasions, anything like that. Okay, so that is the cash dump. So now let's get into the budget. So we'll open up to July. And like I say, I've pre-filled quite a bit of this already, but not all of it. So paycheck 2 came in, and that was $2,997. And the reason why it was less is because I increased my contributions to my 401k. So I went up by a couple percentage points, and that dropped me down below $3,000 for each paycheck, which is fine. My plan was to see how much of a raise I got and adjust accordingly, but then I didn't get a raise, so that's why it went down instead of up. The raise is coming, but I won't get that until the new year. And then the cell phone reimbursement actually did come in on time this month, so that helped a lot. Friend reimbursement, if you weren't with me last week, That was, I ran an errand for a friend and he paid me back. So that showed up also over here in the wallet spend and in the cash allocation. But let's total up all of the income for July since we're here. So we had 3070, and these numbers are all rounded down. 100, 350 carryover, and 201. So 6,718. Let's write that in here. Okay, and then bills, nothing else came in, so let's total those up. 1792, 92, 27, 3, 15, 80, 16, 55, 43, 35, 113, 280, 101, and 83. 2,735. So significantly below where I thought I was going to be, and that is due to doctor and dentist coming in, mainly due to doctor and dentist coming in significantly lower than I was expecting. Okay, wallet we'll come back to. I do need to enter this in here though, 2,735. Stockpiles, there was nothing planned and nothing stockpiled, so that is getting a goose egg. And then savings and extra debt this last week was $304 going to the Roth IRA. So let's total that up. It was 300, 301, 301, 300, and 304. 1506. Okay, 1506. All right, and so I'll calculate the remainder later, but we got to get to the wallet spend first. Before we do that, let's talk quickly about the monthly cash flow tracker. So I did this beforehand just to make sure that I had recorded everything and I couldn't balance. It took me probably 40 minutes to figure out what had happened. One is that I didn't record the Affirm payment, so that was off, and then I also was off here by $2. I'd recorded it as $18.85 and it was $18.83. So it took a lot of backtracking. This Affirm payment trips me up almost every single month. Because I record it in the bills section, but I forget to record it here because it takes a few days to process through the ACH. If you've done Buy Now, Pay Later, you probably noticed that it takes quite a few days, at least for me in my experience, it takes quite a few days for the payment to come through my checking account after I initiate it. That's why I'm always initiating it at the start of the billing cycle rather than at the end of it. Okay, so I totaled all of the income, which includes all of the paychecks and a deposit for Letterbox, as well as the cell reimbursement and the reimbursement from my friend, to $6,570.10. Expenditures totaled up to $6,001.56. So now, just to make sure it balances, we're going to take the starting balance at the start of the month, which was $3936.78. We're going to add $6570.10. That gets us $10,506.88. Now we'll subtract $6,001.56, $4,505.32. So indeed, we do balance. This is the balance in my checking account as of today. Just remember that I get paid the 15th and the last day of the month. So this includes rent and all the other bills that will come out on the 1st. So this money doesn't stay in there long. The account balance is usually high on the 31st or the last day of the month on the 1st, and then rapidly depletes when all these transactions start coming out. Okay, so now let's go over to the expense tracker. And I already populated this as well with everything that I spent this week. I went to Safeway on the 26th for groceries, but they didn't bring me all the groceries. This was a delivery order, and some of the things that I thought I had in my cart were actually not in my cart, which explains why the total was so low. And there were other things that I ordered that were not brought, and that will be important later. So I got a refund for those. So $69.74. McDonald's a couple times. DoorDash, the reason it's $5.81 is because I applied the credit from the missing grocery items. So that came out to next to nothing here. Another DoorDash order here. Had to go back to Safeway. This time I went to the grocery store and I spent about $40. DoorDash tonight because I knew that I was under budget for the week, so I splurged a little bit. And then weekly cash, always now $100, regardless of how much I actually spend. I count that as $100 coming out of my wallet. So let's total all of this up, and then I can put that number into the budget overview. So 6974, 506, 824, 581, 2270, 4048, 4015, and 100. $292.18. And before I leave this page, I'm just going to color code all of these. I picked a really interesting assortment of colors this month, I think. And this is just so that all of the expenses are grouped together by my budget week, if I ever want to go back and review them. So let's go back to the front of the binder, pull this random piece of tape off the back. Okay, so we're going to record $292.18, and we're going to add that to $485.17, $579.29, and $314.59 for a total of $1,671.23. So significantly over the $1,200 plan for a couple of reasons. One is this includes Prime Day spending, which I have I guess you'd call it a sinking fund. I call them stockpiles. So I have money set aside for that. The other is that it includes the errand that I ran for a friend of mine that was already reimbursed. So the fact that it's over here is fine because this side of the ledger has the reimbursement. So 1671.23. So let's see what the remainder is. So we're going to take 67.18. We'll subtract 27.35. 1671.23, and 1506, and that leaves us with a remainder of $805.77. Some of this I may carry forward into August, but I also need to pay the Ready Budget Go credit card, so I may use that money for that. Still running a little bit in arrears just because I keep ordering print, and you have to obviously pay for that ahead of time. So that may be what happens there. So now I'm going to pull this page out, and we'll go over to the review section. That's August. That's August. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to plug these numbers in here real quick. So for income, final was 67.18. Bills, 27.35. Wallet, 1671.23. Stockpiles was 0. Savings, 1506. No extra debt. And the remainder, 805.77. Okay, so now for the differences. 67.18, 62.40, so 478, 34.16, 27.35, 681, less 1671.23, 1200. I could have done that in my head. 471.23. No difference there. $6 difference there. Nothing there. And 805.77 minus 124 is 681.77. Okay. So the total bills were down because of doctor bills lower. And this was because, mainly because of Prime Day. Okay, and then we don't need to explain the rest. So I've already done some reflection and filled out these sections. In terms of what went well, I said that overages on my weekly spending were either stockpiled, like for Prime Day with the gift fund, or reimbursed. actual wallet spend and discretionary was below plan. And then I also said limited number of transactions and reduced reliance on convenience food. So way fewer trips to fast food, way fewer number of transactions, better planning. So I feel good about that for July. For improvement, I wrote down that stockpiled cash needs better tracking, especially the gift fund, and that is true. I didn't have any other way to where to put it in other than into the wallet spending, and it wasn't really wallet spending because that's not where I track the money that I am stockpiling for gifts, birthdays, Christmas events, things like that. So I need to find a better way of doing that. And then things to remember for this time next year, I just wrote plan more low or no cook meals for hot days and pull the trigger on increasing 401k contribution earlier. I really should have done this in June, irrespective of what the raise was going to be. I should not have waited, but I did, and I made the change anyway, so all good. Okay, so that is it for the budget, except I also want to talk about savings, so let's do that real quick. Let me put this back in here. And I'm looking for my little $ stamp that I used to record progress on my Roth IRA, and I don't see it. So let me find it, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about how much I saved this week. Okay, well, I found the stamp pad lickety split, but this little stamper went on an odyssey somewhere. I don't know why I found it where I found it. But anyway, let's talk about savings. So we'll go over to the Sloth IRA challenge, which is how I'm tracking my contributions to my Roth IRA for this year. And this week, on the 29th, I think is when I made the contribution. We did $304 this week, which brings our total contributions for the year, or my total contributions for the year, to $6,276. So we're in the home stretch. $6,276. Okay, so now I just need to stamp off 3 more of the little sloths. There's 1, 2, and 3. So we're in the home row, or the final row. And once this is fully funded, I will be transitioning my savings to the big move. And I've talked about that a few times on this channel. If you're interested in seeing what I'm doing toward saving for the big move, definitely stay tuned. I'll be talking more about that on Wednesday's video, especially because I finished one of the savings books this last week, and I will finish another one this coming week, and then I'll talk about what I'm going to be doing next once the IRA is fully funded. But speaking of the big move, one other challenge that I am working on is the subscriber challenge. So I'm tracking this here. You need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube plus a certain number of watch hours to be monetized. So that is the goal that I'm currently working toward. We're more than halfway there. So we're at about 552, I think it was, when I looked earlier today. So if you haven't subscribed already, I would love to have you as a subscriber. I will save $5 if you do. The way that I do that is every time I reach another 10 subscriber milestone, I fill in another bubble and I move $50 into the Big Move Fund. This comes out of Etsy income. So, for example, this last week, I moved $100 in to get us up to $27.50, which is correct for being at 550 some odd subscribers. When I get to 560, I will move another $50 in there, so it goes to $2,800, and so on until I reach 1,000 subscribers and $5,000. I will be doing other savings challenges toward the big move as well, because I figure I need at least $15,000. It's probably actually going to be even more than that, but we'll see kind of how it goes. It depends on how quickly I can save. I've only got a small window in the rest of 2025 to save toward this before I'm going to start putting money into the Roth IRA again for 2026. So I really need to get busy in the last 4 months of the year well, 4.5 months really, to stock as much away in the Big Move Fund as I can before the Roth IRA savings starts again for next year. But the good news is that I already have my emergency fund fully funded. I already have my blip fund fully funded. So I worked on both of those this year. I won't have to do that next year. So I'm starting the Roth IRA contributions much earlier. And I may actually do a little to the Roth and a little to the big move concurrently. So we'll see how it all works out. I will make those plans as we get closer to the end of the year. But for now, for this week, that is all I have for the weekly budget update and savings update. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it more than words can say. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. Like I said, I will save $5 if you do. Excuse me. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below so that I know you were here. Programming note, we've got the Letterbucks Savings Challenge coming up this weekend. Monday night, game night as always. Wednesday, I'll be back with the Savings Challenge books and the new challenge that will replace the 2 books that are completed. And I'll be back here next week at the end of the week for another budget update. So thank you again so much for watching, and until I see you in the next one, take care.